Hey, this is Roller. I just got back from BSD Can where I gave a talk, and today we're going to do the full walkthrough of that talk. So if you go to bsd.pw, the talk was automating my FreeBSD lab from setup to daily use with Ansible and Salt. Here's my slides. If you check the slides out, you'll see this is my lab. It's just a Dell Precision, and I've got it connected to this wireless router, and also you can plug an Ethernet cord in the back of this as well to get internet. So we're going to go through exactly how I did this without skipping any steps, just in case you've never done this before and you want to do it on your own computer. So just go to VirtualBox. .org, download VirtualBox. This is a Windows host, so download the Windows host. This one is just a tough gaming laptop. So this is my gaming computer. I figured I'd show you on a computer that you're more likely to have. You're more likely to have a computer that doesn't already have FreeBSD on it, so I wanted to show you how to play with FreeBSD and VirtualBox first so that you can get the hang of it, and then I would recommend you install it like I did in an actual machine and replace your your router with it and your gateway. So this gray cord's just going straight into the back of my modem from my ISP, so you could do the same thing. Alright, so we're going to go to freebsd.org, download FreeBSD, and 14.3 is out now, so we're going to get that one. If you already did this the other day before 14.3 came out, and you're on 14.2, or if you just don't know how to upgrade your lab, if you go to YouTube, this one right here shows you how to upgrade the lab. It's a little different. With jails, you want to go from version to version. Like, you can do the updates, 14.2, P1, P2, P3. As long as you're still on the 14.2, you can do all the updates with Salt. But when you switch to a different release like 14.3, you want to do it like I show you in this video. Okay. I'm going to get the boot only. This is about 90 megabytes. Pretty small file. So let's go ahead and download that one. Because I don't want to download a bunch from freebsd.org. I'm trying to save the bandwidth. So if you download an XZ file, you're going to need 7-zip, right? So just go to 7zip.org and grab 7-zip, install that. If you're on OS X and you want to know how to try this thing, yeah, it's called Kika. That's a good one. Okay, so just make sure you have 7-zip, and then we're going to go to the downloads folder. Just right click on this, go to show more options, go to 7-zip, and extract here. If you try to extract this with Windows tools, it'll probably do something funny, so I wouldn't recommend that. Okay, so let's go into VirtualBox now. We can close all this. And first thing is we want to make you can click right here and go to network, or you can click file, tools, network. We want to make a NAT network. So go to NAT network, create a new one, give it a name. We're just going to call this home network. Let's call this new home network. Disable DHCP, and don't worry about the whatever prefix it generated, because we're not gonna let VirtualBox control that. We're gonna control that inside of our jail. So just hit apply, and then we're gonna hit. We're gonna go to machine new. Give it a name. So Here's another trick with VirtualBox. If you start typing FreeBSD, it'll automatically select PeterBSD for you. If you change this to something else, it won't know. So just so you know, there's a type BSD, subtype FreeBSD, version FreeBSD 64. So just make sure that's what's set. If you don't type FreeBSD, you can just set it manually. We're going to call this one lab host. And see how it changed it to other. If you left it on other and you finished, you're going to notice that here, I'll just show you real quick. You're going to notice that your network, where's the network? See how this is PC net-fast is the type of adapter. That's going to show up as a different driver in FreeBSD, and then you could either go update the driver inside of your config or just set it to the one that I've got these other ones set to so that you don't run into any problems. So just keep in mind, you could run into a problem if you are using a different driver. It's not that the driver won't work, it's just that you need to go and change EM0 to whatever that driver is, like LE or something like that. So we're going to say new. I'm just going to type lab host. I'm going to select you can just go to other, pick your file, say open. Go here to BSD, FreeBSD 64, yes. So for hardware, we're going to give it some power, maybe just 4 gigs, 2 CPUs. Just keep in mind that we're going to run another one here in a minute. So make sure you've got enough green left over so that if you did this twice, you would still have space, right? So you don't want to go outside the green with your VMs. You still need space for the rest of your computer to run. Put some, I'm just going to bring this up to 50. I'm not going to use 50, but just give yourself some space. This is the max size of your hard drive. Okay. All right. Now it says Intel Pro is the name of the network adapter. That's what we wanted to do. The other thing we want to do here now that's created is go into settings, and we're going to make a couple network adapters. So you can leave the first one like it is. The second one we're going to create as that network, and we're going to put in a new home network. Change this promiscuous mode to allow all, because this is meant to be the gateway and it needs to see the traffic from all the VMs that are on this NAT network. So allow all is good for this circumstance. And then just get a third one and put it on the NAT. Okay. Start it up. All right, so we're gonna switch into scaled mode. So down here, it'll tell you what your host key is, and host key C brings you into scaled mode. You can tell by just going to view. Scaled mode is host key plus C. So go into scaled mode because you can make it bigger and you can see it better. All right, so the installer works with, you see how I clicked in there? If you hit the host key, your mouse comes back out and your keyboard's not, your keyboard should still kind of work in here, but I usually just click in here. And if you were wondering why your mouse is stuck, just right control is my host key. So if you hit the host key, then you can get your mouse back. Okay, so arrow keys are going over, enter is selecting. Sometimes you need tab, and spacebar is to toggle something on or off. So we'll do enter, enter, and we're just going to say this one is called lab host. Enter. You don't need to pick anything here, but just to show you what I was talking about with spacebar, if you hit spacebar, see how it selects, and spacebar again, deselects. So just do enter. Use EM2 to get internet, because my script is gonna rename EM0 and EM1 for the jails. So yes, you want IPv4, yes, DHCP, no for IPv6. And then this one you're gonna need to do tab, because if you don't do tab, you kind of are stuck in these three. So tab will bring you out, and then you can do OK. We'll do auto ZFS. You want to select your pool type, so come here and enter and pick your stripe. You select to, spacebar to select the hard drive. You can name your pool whatever you want here. I'm just going to name mine storage. So, okay. You can proceed now. Just say yes, that's fine. Pick the top one because it'll use that, like it says in the explanation here, it'll use GeoDNS. It'll figure out where you are and it'll get you a close one. It downloads fast. These are small files anyway, so they don't need to download that fast, but okay, give it a root password. You can pick your time zone here. I'm just gonna pick Eastern. Yes, that looks good. No, that time does not look right. But we'll just let NTP set the time by saying NTPD, and on the lab host, I don't need SSH, so I'm going to turn that off. I usually always turn this on. That just makes it so you can't drop into single user mode without typing the root password. Okay, do you want to add users to the system? Sure. So I'm just going to say roller. You should also say roller. I didn't make this a variable in your config file, just because then I would have had to make it a variable or a pillar inside of salt. And when Ansible copies the salt states over to the salt server, it wouldn't have filled in that variable in the pillar anyway, so I would have had to make like a task to do that. And I'll just show you after all the automation's done how to make sure the roller user is not on the computer anymore, and then you can put your own user in at that point. So just create a roller user, we'll run all the automation, and then you can delete roller. So just think of it as me on your computer automating it for you. But feel free to look at the playbooks and the salt states, and you can change it however you want. So I'm just going to put me into wheel. I like TCSH as my shell. You can just use the defaults on all these and then enter a password. And then the defaults on the rest. And exit. It's going to ask you if you want to do any modifications. Say yes. Just the only modification we want to do is turn off the computer. If we don't do any modifications, it'll just reboot. When it reboots, it'll boot off the disk. So you can just type that to turn it off. Once it turns off, we want to take the ISO or the virtual disk out of the drive. So you can do that right here on this screen. You can just click on the drive and say remove disk from drive. You can also do that in the settings. You can go to storage, click on the drive, remove the disk from drive that way, and we'll just start it back up. You can push enter here to skip that countdown. All right, so login as root. And we're going to install a couple packages. So let's do package install -y to say yes. And then we want vim sudo pi311 Ansible and git light. We could also install SSH pass because when we SSH into our second machine, we're going to need SSH pass. Which reminds me, before we install these packages, it would have been a good idea to create a snapshot of the machine. Because if you create a snapshot or if you clone it, then you don't have to go through the installer again. But I forgot, so oh well. We'll just install the other one again too. Okay, so let's do package install SSH pass. We'll use that later. Okay, cool. Make a directory. Well, hold on. Type vi sudo. This is how you set up sudo. So you just go to /wheel, You go down to here and to XX to delete those two, and Shift Z, so 2 capital Z's, and that'll get you out of there. So really it's just vi sudo /wheel and then J0XX 2 capital Z's. That's if you want password, or you could do J a couple more times and come to this one if you want a sudo without a password. So 0 goes to the beginning, J goes down, X will delete something. Another way to exit if you don't want to do the 2 capital Z's thing is you can do :WQ. That works too. And you'll see it's just writing that user local etc sudoers file. You could also just use an editor and edit user local etc sudoers. Vi sudo is just nice because it edits that file directly for you and you don't have to go and type it, the whole file name. Okay, just a shortcut. Let's exit out of here and log in as a regular user now. Just test that sudo's working, so sudo -i. Yep, we're able to get to root, cool. Control D or log out will drop you down back to your regular user. Control L cleans up the screen. Most people like to type clear, but you don't have to, you can just Control L. Cool thing about Control L is you can be in like the middle of typing a command and Control L. So Control U will clean up whatever you're typing. Okay. So I'm going to make a directory called downloads because we're going to use that in to download the base.txt from freebsd.org for our jails. So let's go and clone the repository. So if you go to bsd.pw, you're going to see there's a repository here. And if you go to code HTTPS, this will give you the exact URL that you need to type. We don't have copy paste in here yet because we haven't installed any VirtualBox drivers. We're not going to install any VirtualBox drivers on the lab host, but on our, we're going to make another host and we're going to pretend like it's a laptop. And I'm going to show you how to install all the VirtualBox drivers and stuff like that. And once we get it all set up, you can use the clipboard and copy paste things. Okay, so you can make this smaller while you type this, just so that you have something to copy from. But basically, that's exactly what you want to clone. So if you just do git clone, so that's what you want to get clone. Then we're going to cd into that, and we're going to go into the virtual lab directory, and then we're going to edit the config file. So it's group vars all config. So if you remember, we named our ZFS pool storage, so just come change that to storage. And you're going to see the download directories here, home roller downloads, and everything else. So FreeBSD version is going to be 14.3 now. And yeah, so save and exit this. Clear your screen and let's go Ansible, playbook, and let it rip. I guess something we could do while we wait for this, since we have to make another one of these anyways. Let's do new. We'll call this one laptop. Select the same disk, go to give it a little bit of memory and stuff. Set that to BSD, FreeBSD, make sure that's all good. Yes, we want some space. Okay, but this one's a little different. Go into settings, and you're gonna want to, you can leave the network promiscuous mode thing alone because we're not trying to pretend like we're a NAT network. We're not trying to be the gateway or anything, so just leave that on the deny. But pick the same network, right? The new home network. But this one's a little different. If you go to display, since we're going to be doing graphics, you don't want whatever they tell you here. You want this one, and they're going to tell you that's wrong. Ignore them. This one works with FreeBSD. Okay. So now you can see my adapter 2 is on the new home network, and my laptop's on the new home network. So basically, it's going to treat this like the home network, and it's going to be able to get, this is going to be able to get an address powered by DHCPD on this thing. So let's start that up. And we're just going to go through the installer exactly the same. I'll just make it a little bit smaller so we can see what's going on in the background with the other one. Okay, but I'm going to call this one FreeBSD X1 Carbon. You're going to want to call it exactly the same thing. That's because our salt state is set up to call out by host name, and it's going to use that host name to call it out. If you want to see what I'm talking about, I'll show you in a second. Let's get this installing. Except, hold on a second. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And plus, you're going to want to restart this anyways before we try and get a DHCP address, right? I jumped ahead. I don't want this on anymore after we reboot. You can see now that EM0 and EM1 are going to be lab 0 and home 0. When jib runs, jib's going to create a home 0 bridge, and we're going to get our address from home 0 bridge. So I'm going to turn this one off now because we don't need it anymore. But that thing I was telling you about, let me show you what I meant. So if I go to roles, lab host, states, top. So see right here where it says FreeBSD X1 Carbon. So that's telling that's selecting the host name here and saying you're going to be a desktop. You're going to get desktop.xorg and you're going to get desktop.virtualbox. So that's why we need to call it exactly that. If you want to call it something different, you'd have to change that. Otherwise, when you bring your machine up, it would just get it would match this, and it would just get base and base.users, and that's the only configuration it would get from Salt. So I'm going to reboot this now. Just make sure my jails come up, and to reset some of the. So I can just type sudo reboot. Reset all the settings, like it'll run through rc.conf and set up everything. Make sure it works like it's supposed to. So we'll let that reboot. And then we'll make sure it says starting jail gateway and starting jail salt. If it ever hangs like this, after it's already shown the uptime, it's probably just disconnecting some USBs or something. Okay, cool, it's rebooting. I'll hit enter. Cool, rename those interfaces. Now it's starting the jails. Cool, jails are started. Right there, you can see gateway and salt. So now if you come over here, we're going to redo this. So continue with default, FreeBSD X1 Carbon, base.txt. Yes, we want some files. Let's do EM0. We want DHCP. Now it should get an address. If you want to see the addresses that the thing's handed out, you can check it right here. So you can go to roller. You can go sudo-i. You can do jexec-l gateway login-f root. You can see that yeah. I know why it's not working. Okay. We never set up the. So all we did was we ran our Ansible playbook, which set up everything, but we haven't ran any salt, right? So if you look here, you're seeing there's an internet address 1066.6.1 here, but there's nothing here, right? Because if you look at rc.conf, it only has E0B gateway and E1B gateway. It doesn't have any other LANs here. So what we want to do is we want to go into salt. Not salter, but salt. And we want to check the salt keys. So salt key. You'll see there's two unaccepted keys, the gateway and salt. So we want to accept those keys. You can do one at a time with a little a and then type the name, gateway, you can type the whole thing. Or if you want to do two at the same time or more, you can do capital A. It'll say, do you want to accept both these? So yes. Okay, so now when we run that, you can see there are accepted keys in green, and you can just say salt state.high state, and that'll bring it'll bring both of those machines up to the state that we want them to be in. Okay, so now that those have their config, let's restart them real quick. So you can do exit out of the salt lab, and you just do service jail restart. That'll restart, that'll stop both of the jails, and that'll start both the jails. So now if you go look at the gateway, see how it's got that 192.168, and if you look at its rc.conf, it's now got this E2B gateway, and it's running DHCPD and a few other things. So let's go state high state one more time. And we're going to go back over here and we're going to try this again. So now when you select the network interface, okay, wait, let me show you the file that we want to watch, just so you can watch it change. So you can do, if you want to watch a file, you can do tail-f, and then it's var log, no, it's var db dhcpd.leases. So you see that line that just added? So that means that it just handed out a DHCP lease to this machine. We can check that in a sec. So let me get this installing. All right, now we don't have to wait and watch that again, but, oh, hold on. We'll make sure it's actually doing something before we leave the screen. Okay, cool. So check this out. It just gave out 192.168.66.10 for the client with the host name FreeBSD X1 Carbon. So, and here's the hardware Ethernet address, which is cool because if you go into DHCPD, you know, and you start digging into it, you can find that you know, you can tell certain hosts with certain hardware addresses to get certain IP addresses, and there's a lot of configuration you can do with it. Okay, we're gonna just Control D out of this stuff. We're gonna go CD into our add client to virtual lab, because I want to add another client. This one's going to be the update server. The update jail. So to add, we'll just very quickly check our group vars all config, and I'm probably going to want to put 14.3 in here and change that to make sure it matches the name of my ZFS pool. So when you add a new, these are just defaults. So the default IP address will be 99, and the default lab client host name is client. So to override those on the command line, you just type Ansible playbook, and then you do -e, and in quotes you put what you want to override. So I want to override IP address equals 3 with a space bar in between, and I want to override lab client host name equals update. So you'll notice it didn't download the base.txt again because when I downloaded that, I put it into a lab media dataset, and so every time you make a new one, it'll just use what's inside of there. So hopefully do use this lab for a while, and if you use it long enough to where FreeBSD changes versions, then you might want to go in that lab media folder and download a new base.txt for whatever version you're using, so that when you run this again, it will set up FreeBSD with the version you were expecting. Cool. So now let's go back into Salt. Do the Salt key again. We'll do the Salt key, just add that. And we'll state high state. You don't have to select all of them if you don't want to. You can actually type like update star, so you don't have to type update.lab.bsd.pw. You could just do update star to be like, you know, it starts with update, figure it out, and it'll do that. Yeah. So what this update server does is it just we'll go into the config file and we'll update it so that it actually works. It's set up to do FreeBSD 14.2. I guess I could have updated the template file to use the variable from the group var's.all config, now that I think about it, but I don't think it is. So let's go double check it real quick. So if we go into that jail, all right, let's get out of here. Let's go into that jail. Or actually, you don't even have to go into the jail. Let's go into the salt state and salt. That's better. Because if you update a file in the salt state, it will, and then you reapply the state, it will restart Apache for you. So I have an update server in here, then I got a user, local, etc, Apache, includes updatecache.conf. And we'll just come down here to 14.2 and we'll change that to 14.3. So that's literally just saying anything gets denied, but if it happens to be /14.3 release, then we'll allow it. And then we will cache to disk, and we're going to cache it for, what does it say? I think it's just a day. Well, those are all the settings if you want to look into them. Okay, so we'll just state high state again. And then you'll see right there it says service restarted Apache, so that's cool. Yeah, so all that's doing is, yeah, literally when you run salt, you know, FreeBSD update fetch, that'll only get one set of updates from the upstream, and then the other ones will use this. We'll use the cached versions, so that's cool. Yeah. Let's see how this is doing. Okay, FreeBSD. Let's go to North America, United States, set NTPD, leave SSHD. This is the one that we're going to use it. Just secure console, please. Yes, we need a user. Let's say roller. You should also say roller. You can change this later. But these groups are different. It's wheel, operator, video. Operator lets you do things like shut down as the regular user, and then video lets you do video stuff. You could also just type power off. It's another one. Okay, well, we're waiting for that to turn off. You come over here. You can go back to here, but now we're going to we want to go into add desktop to salt. And you can check these group bars. There shouldn't be anything really in here, right? Because this one's really straightforward. All this one's doing is Here, I'll show you. It's basically, if you hit pause break here, you can go up and down, right? Usually when you push up, it goes to the previous command. If you hit pause break, it'll let you scroll up. If you don't know what pause break is, you can go here to view, let me see, it's devices, where is it? Oh yeah, input keyboard, soft keyboard. See, it's this button. So if you hit pause break, or scroll lock, either one, but pause break turns on scroll lock, but basically you can go up, right? Yeah, so all this is doing is this is using the built-in raw module to install Python, because you can't use modules in Ansible without Python on the remote host. But since we don't have Python already, we're gonna use the raw module to do that. The become method is usually sudo, but we don't have sudo. We're installing it right down here, so we're using become method su. If you do that, you have to type in the root password when you run Ansible playbook. So we're going to install sudo, we're going to configure sudo, and then you'll see that the rest of these are actually using the default of sudo because we didn't change the become method, right? Okay. So you would go Ansible playbook, and then you do lowercase k, capital K, right? Lowercase k saying you want to do SSH password, capital K saying you want to do super user password, right? And then let's go check on our machine. So our machine turned off, which is good. But since it turned off, we want to, hold on, let me turn off the keyboard, it's annoying. Oh, I want to go away. Okay, well, keyboard's stuck on, whatever. Go to the laptop, take the CD out like we did, boot it up. And that's all we're gonna do with the laptop, right? We did the installer, and we took the CD out, and we're gonna let it boot up. And if we can SSH into it, we can set it up with, we could set it up to be controlled by Salt with an Ansible playbook. So let's make sure we can actually, oh, and on this one, see how I'm in scaled mode? We're gonna turn off scaled mode because what we're doing is we plan on actually setting up the drivers and stuff for this one. So we're not gonna need scaled mode anymore. So let's go back into what we were looking at, right? So Control L to clear your screen, but not mess with your command. So we're just going to run in the add desktop to Salt. We're going to run Ansible playbook with lowercase k, capital K. We could verify that we can SSH to the machine first. If we don't, we're just going to have to accept the host key when you run Ansible. It should ask you. Well, maybe it won't ask you, so we'll just. Oh, you know why it didn't work? Because if you look at, we don't have an address on Home Zero Bridge. So if we want to be able to talk to that computer, we're going to need to connect to the Home Zero Bridge so that we can get an address on that 192.168 network, right? So you'll see there's no address yet, but if we sudo dhclient Home Zero Bridge, now we've got a 192.168 address, we got .11. So now if you look at ifconfig, you can see that we've got an address on the home bridge, so we can talk to the network. So now let's run that. All right, so we should just verify we can log in. Oh, you know what's going on? See how it's trying to talk to 108? Our address that it gave it is actually .10 if you remember. So we need to edit that. So it's just host. There's a host file. The desktop here is, or the laptop is .10. Okay, so right here, this is what I was going to tell you. You want to log into it first manually because you need to check your, you need to say it's okay. Like check your host key, make sure it's okay. Say, you sure you want to connect? Yes. See, now we're asked for the password, and now we're logged in as OverSSH to our FreeBSD X1 Carbon. And now that we've accepted that key, now you can do this part. This is connected our computer to Salt, so we can go accept its key. Now we can bring that up to speed. This one's got more packages to install, so it might take a little bit. If you want to watch what's flying over the network, you can do Control Alt F2, F3, F4, F5, F6, F7, F8, any one of those. That'll bring you to another one of these, and you can log in again. And you can JExec gateway, and you can do a TCP dump. Put a couple B's on there. You can do -I. You can do you could throw in what is it, E0B gateway. That should be the -I. So you're seeing all that freebsd.org flying across the screen every once in a while. Yeah, so you can see we're talking to package 0.chi.freebsd.org. So just getting a lot of data from FreeBSD packages right now. Yeah, it's always fun if you want to see what's happening on your network. Use TCP dump. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you that. So I'm gonna log out of this one. I'll just go back to, so you do Control Alt F1. Usually I'll teach you Control Alt because that's how you get out of Xorg. But if you're not in Xorg, it's just Alt F1, Alt F2. But if you're inside of like an Xorg session and you do Alt, it's going to just be like you did Alt something inside of your desktop, and it's not going to jump you out to one of these. But if you Control Alt F1 or Control Alt F2, it'll jump you out of the desktop and back out into the console. So keep that in mind. Like if for whatever reason your desktop ever freezes, you don't have to restart your computer. You can actually just jump back out to here with Control Alt F1 or wherever you started your Start X, and you can Control C, and then you'll have your shell back and you can Start X again. I guess something else we could talk about while we're waiting is if we Alt F2 and we go into Salt. There's a command called open SSL password or passwd and do -6. That'll ask you for a fort password, and it'll output this password hash. You can use a password hash in a user state file in Salt if you want to set a password to whatever you typed here in these prompts. So we'll do that. I set empty password true in my Salt states for this, just so you didn't have to know what the password was once the user was created. But if you put this, if you change empty _ password : true to just password : and then this, it'll make your user's password whatever you typed here. So we'll do that here in a second. I'm actually just gonna save this to a file so I can bring it into my file later, because I don't have copy paste on this. So we're gonna add that to here. We're gonna take this empty password out and we're gonna add it right there. But real quick, let's go check this one. Okay. So, well, whatever it failed on, what did it fail on? We'll just try that again, because it did, looks like it did get some packages. I mean, we waited that long. It definitely did download all the packages. So for whatever reason, it didn't register that for one of the requisites that it had in its list. But let's give it another chance to reevaluate and see if it really is missing anything. No, it's not. Okay. Cool. So this is saying we can go to our desktop, and we can actually try, let's reboot it, right? Because we did just configure all the, like this, VBox enable, VBox service enable, but I don't think I started any of these. If we would have started all the services, then we wouldn't have to reboot, but I believe I just enabled them. So we'll just go here to machine, reset. You can do ACPI shutdown if you want. You can come in here and type reboot if you log in. If you do ACPI shutdown, that's like clicking the shutdown button on the computer, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, so we'll shut that down, we'll start it up. I'm just going to log in and type startx, right? And you'll notice this time when I type my username, I'm not putting in a password because that empty password true is now part of this machine. So I'm just going to type roller startx because I want to show you the graphics thing. So once it starts X, the drivers and stuff are loaded, so if I make this bigger, it will automatically make this bigger. Then if you do Control Shift plus plus plus, that makes it a little bit bigger. And if you do, looks like everything's good. Oh, I was just going to show you about the copy pasting. So this is just saying, you know, you're using version 6.15, but that's just, you can ignore this stuff. We're using whatever version came from ports. So, okay. The ports maintainer manages that version. So, yeah, so we get our VirtualBox OSE guest editions from ports, and typically in other operating systems, you would like download those from, I think right here, this guest edition CD image and install them that way. But since we package install them from ports, we don't have to worry about that. But here, shared clipboard. So if you want a clipboard that goes from the host to the guest, you can do that. You can do bidirectional. Host to guest, typically what I do. Bidirectional is fine too. That means if you copied here, it would copy over here to your regular computer. So, but like if you want to test this, if I did host to guest and then I go, you know, copy this, I should be able to paste it now. So there you go, copy paste is working. Nice. But say you don't want this roller user anymore because now you're all set up, right? We're done with the automation stuff. So if I log out and then actually Control D to sign out, let's get rid of this roller user. Let's add your own user. Let's just pretend your username is Bob, and I'll show you how to do that. So if we go to oh, it's already open. Abort. Do Alt F2. Remember we were already editing this file. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. But anyways, so these are just names. So I'm gonna change roller group, absent, roller user, absent. Actually, before I do that, let's copy paste these. And then let's we don't need all this. Before I do anything else, I'm going to change all the rollers to Bob, and then we can just rename these couple ones. So if you want to change the whole file and do a quick search through it, you can do Shift %S to use sed, And then we're looking for roller, and we want to change that to Bob. Globally, we'll change all of them in the whole file. So we'll say cool. And then now we'll change this back to roller. And we'll change this one to roller. We want to move this one up above roller group because we want to delete the user before we delete the group that's part of that user. And then to delete, you would just type absent instead of present. When you delete a user, they had a home directory, remember? So you want to delete their home directory too. So to make sure it cleans up their home directory, you would just type purge. Purge is true. So you don't have to tell it what to purge. You just say purge is true, and that'll clean it up. Okay, so now it's going to create a Bob group and a Bob user, and you can change this to your username. So Bob Builder, or whatever your username is. You can change this empty password true to, like I was telling you earlier, password, and then change this true to actually be, you can read in that temp file with read. And then just make sure that's on the same line. So password space, and then whatever that output was from OpenSSL, space password space -6, right? That's just what came out of that. And then this, if you want to know how we get an SSH key, you can do, it's just SSH keygen, and you set the type to this ED25519. That's better than RSA, and it's actually gives you a nice short thing you can copy paste here. So you would just type SSH keygen -T and then ED25519. Do that on your whatever computer you want that SSH key stored into. I don't need that on my Salt server or anything, but you would run that, and it would create two files in your SSH directory, your .ssh directory, and you would take the value of the pub file, the .pub file, and put it here. But I'm not going to do that today. That's basic. Oh, there is one thing. Look at the desktop. So that when I type startx, it ran that .exinit.rc file. So we actually want to update that too. So that would be desktop xorg. Change this to change all the rollers in here to Bob as well. So if you do colon up, it should find that sed command you ran earlier, and it just changed 3 rollers to Bob. And like I said, you can make this a pillar. So now that you're using Salt full time, you can make that a pillar. If you want to know how to do pillars, just check out Salt docs, right? So Salt's got a nice pillar walkthrough. It'll tell you kind of, hey, you just go make this serve thing is you would just put it right here, right? You would go to the same folder. This is basically the serve directory. Use your local etc salt. So you would just go up one directory and see how states is. You would just make a dir called pillar, and then inside that pillar you'd put a top.sls. You would say, you know, what machines does this apply to, and if it's all of them, like a username, you would just do this star, and then you would say the name of your state file, which in this case they're calling it data. So then you'd make a pillar data.sls, and you just put username : Bob, right? And then run this refresh, and now you can verify it with this, and you should see username Bob up here. And then you know, then you can start using it in your file. Like this will tell you basically, you know, you can go and grab like you can do double curlies and then just say pillar, and then in these you would put username. Okay. And then yeah, you can go run your sed command and replace all the bobs with that, except it would say username there and you wouldn't have this extra one at the end. Okay. That's probably all that you needed for today. If you want to make sure that bob thing works, I guess I could show you that just to prove that it does work. So we'll salt. So we'll update our desktop real quick. It's going to go see that all these changes happened, and it'll go apply them. Our user's now going to have a password. Our user's now called Bob. There shouldn't be a user named Roller, and there shouldn't be a home directory for Roller anymore. So now if I just type Bob, I can log in, I can type *X. I can go double check. There's only a Bob directory, there's no more Roller. Cool. So that all worked. I'm gonna turn this machine off. The other thing would be if you want to add Roller, get rid of Roller on this machine, right? So log out all the way, log in as root. And as root, you can do I think it's RM user or Dell user. Let's try RM user. Yeah, so it's RM user, and it's saying, hey, you want to get rid of Roller, Roller Angel, all that? Say, yep. You want to remove their home directory? Yep. They're gone. Well. Oh, am I logged in already? Dang it. Hold on. I didn't log out all the way of Roller. I did. You saw me log out all the way, but if you look at Alt F1, I think I was still logged in over here. So it looked like it might have kicked me out. Let's double check. Okay. Try that one more time. Roller does not exist anymore. Okay, so we just had trouble deleting my home directory. Why is that a zpool? Or I mean, is that a data set? Yeah, storage home roller is a data set. So we would just have to delete that data set. Okay, well, we can delete that later, but if you type add user, this is where you type Bob builder, wheel, GCSH, home Bob. Cool, now you've got Bob, right? So, and you should be able to ZFS destroy storage home roller. Well, can I make it do it? There you go, roller's gone now. So yeah, just run the F because it had like some mail thing running. Cool. That's all I'm going to show you. So thanks for watching. Yeah, just remember, run Roller when you do the automation, and then you can take it out. If you want to submit a patch that parameterizes it all and does the task for the salt pillar thing, go for it. You can contribute to the Git repo. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.